Good morning, everybody. How you doing today? My name's Andrew.
I'm Matt.
I'm Pop-Pop.
I'm Petey.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Kelly.
And we're some of the Veggie Boys.
And go.
And we'd like to thank you for stopping by. If you're new here, please consider subscribing because we can grow a lot of stuff on this farm, but one thing we can't grow is this channel without your help. I don't know how we do it. There you go, chickens. Have fun. A cow just escaped. Go back in. Go back in. Oh yeah, be careful, ice. Welcome back, everyone. It's so nice to have you with us this morning. We are just finishing off the chores. Dad is getting the calves fed as we speak right now. We just got some silage and grain dumped in for the cattle. Yesterday we were down here. It was just as cold as today. We got some fresh bedding put in. We're dealing with real fields that are dipping pretty well into the negatives. It's not making the day fun. However, the cattle have been enjoying that fresh bedding. Really quickly, I want to mention what we've got going on over here. We've actually stopped the cattle from going out to pasture. If you follow us on Instagram, you would have already seen this, but there's a really good reason why we did that. Normally, these cattle do have 24/7 access to the pasture. But if we look out over the pasture, you will notice that it is completely covered in ice. And where the barn sits, we are on top of the hill. So if the cattle want to go down to pasture, they got to go down to hills. Now, if they go that way, we have a nice slope path, but we do have sections where it's a little steeper. And the cattle, they like to use those steeper sections sometimes. And when you see your cattle sliding down a hill, it'll freak you out. The last thing we want is for any of our animals to get hurt. So we've done something that we never really do. We've closed off the pasture. The cattle don't seem to be bothered by it too much. They weren't really going out to pasture often. There's not much grass out there for them to eat, but we wanted to make sure they have plenty of room. They're gonna have plenty of grain and silage to keep themselves comfortable, and that fresh bedding helps out a ton. See, a big problem was we got another blanket of snow, and then right after that, it warmed up a little bit and switched to rain, and it soaked that top layer. Normally, the rain would just drain away. However, because underneath that snow, the ground was still frozen, it's caused everything to become a sheet of ice. It's dangerous out there, and we gotta protect the animals. I know they're doing the same with the horses. They're keeping them in. You know, it just creates so much work keeping the animals in. However, you just don't want anything bad to happen. That would just make things so much more difficult than they have to be. Now, with the temperature well below freezing today, and with the real field dipping well into the negatives, working outside, it just does not sound like fun. This is not my ideal working weather. But it's not all bad because I'm not gonna be working outside for most of the day. That's how you know it's summertime. Matt's already shirtless. And Matt would be shirtless because it is currently 82 degrees. I see you're sweating already.
That was from feeding cows. I was trying to let my shirt dry. It's cold, and I thought I better dress really warm, and I did, and it was too hot while I was feeding cows. My hair froze while I was walking up here because I was trying to cool off.
Really?
Yeah, my hair.
Wow. Now, yesterday we were in this germination greenhouse getting it all set up. I did record a few clips of that for you.
If you start smelling propane, run.
Gas turned on, right?
Yep, it's on.
Yeah, gas is on.
Gas is on.
Daniel's down there working our thermostat. We were having a little bit of trouble, but we just got it kicked on. We had to bleed the line. We also made sure our tanks were opened up completely. And now if we were to look up in there, yeah, there is flames kicking out. That will heat up this greenhouse fast. Oh yeah, that air feels pretty warm. Now outside, it is 25 degrees. Because of the wind, real feel is down to 5 degrees, even lower when we have gusts. But inside this greenhouse with the sun out, this thermometer is reading 72, 74 degrees. So it gets pretty hot in here, but the number one thing we're gonna be concerned about is at nighttime. So we're just gonna stay here. We're gonna watch this heater for a few minutes, make sure that it continues to run well, and that it doesn't shut off randomly, because if that happened at nighttime, That wouldn't be good. This process has been a pain in the past. However, this has been something we've tried to do better at every single year. And because of that, it doesn't take us a long time to get these greenhouses up and running. I mean, we've got heat in here, and that's the #1 most important thing. Next will be getting the water lines connected. But we don't have to worry about that because there's nothing in here. That's gonna change tomorrow. And there you have it. Our main goal was getting the heater all set up so that we could get started working in this greenhouse today. And the heater did run all night, keeping things a little on the warmer side. But you can see these greenhouses are wonderful when the sun is out because you can really get cooking. We might have to open the door. First order of business this morning is getting the water lines all hooked up. Normally we don't have them hooked up this time of the year. However, because the heater is running, it won't drop below freezing and we won't have bursted pipes. So we're getting our fertilizer injector put into place, and we're also getting our water heater hooked up. Longtime viewers will know what the water heater does. We will touch on it in further videos quite often because it is an important piece inside this germination greenhouse. For now though, the #1 goal is just gonna be getting all the water lines hooked up so that we're ready to get started seeding. Yeah, you heard that right. We're starting seeding today. It's an exciting one. I'm excited. Are you excited? We've now got our water lines all hooked up, so we should just about be ready to go. We're all gonna have a few different jobs to worry about. A very important job is gonna be running the seeder. This is a Vandana air seeder, and what's really nice about it is that there are different tray attachments for whatever you need. Different seed size, different seed count. Right now we have a 512 cell tray on here. So there's 512 tiny holes, and what this air seeder does is when you turn it on, it actually sucks the seeds fast. We have a vacuum and an exhaust on it. When we have the tray filled up, whatever way we want it, we just take it, we flip it over, and we'll have a tray full of soil underneath, and we'll just turn the machine off, the seeds will dump in, and then we'll get ready to start our next tray. This is one of the most important tools that we have on the farm. It allows us to seed thousands and thousands and thousands of seeds without taking much time. A lot of times when people are seeding, it's one at a time. Well, we like to do 512 at a time. Another job that we're gonna have is filling up trays. Right now, Daniel is working on that. Here are our 512 cell trays. You will see for each one of these holes, there is a hole on that air seeder, and that allows us to fill up the entire tray with just one flip. So we have seeding, and then we have filling trays, and the last big job is tagging the trays, because it's nice to put seeds in a tray, but if we don't know what they are, that's a big problem. So we're gonna have one of us running the seeder, we're gonna have another person working on trays, and then finally we're gonna have someone tagging everything. And tagging stuff, even though it sounds like a small job, oh, it's so important. Now the person who's tagging everything, they also have the very important job of writing down everything that we have seeded today. We put everything into a book. We have kept a record of everything that we have seeded for the last 10 years. It's in a book, and you know, it sounds a little silly to do that, but it helps us to remember and understand, depending on the year that we're dealing with, when to get started seeding all different types of crops. And that book is something that we look back to every single year. Yeah, we've been using it for a long time. It's got a lot of information, and it's gonna be what's helping us to get started today. So right now, Dad and Matthew are down grabbing that book, and in the meantime, we're gonna get filling trays because we're definitely gonna need a lot of trays. Now, a little information about the soil that we are using. It is a professional growing medium. So what that means is the soil is a little bit finer, and the reason for that is because it's excellent for germination. We don't want to give our seeds a tough time when it comes to germination. We're going to try and give them the best conditions possible, and soil is one of those conditions we really need to be concerned about. We want to make sure that we don't pack the trays too tight so that the roots don't have a tough time when they are starting to grow. We also really have to be concerned with the amount of soil we are putting in the tray. We don't want too much, and we also don't want too little. When we put another tray on top, we are slightly pressing down to leave indents. That way, when we do dump the seeds into the tray, we can cover them with a tiny amount of soil. Again, it's all about germination, and this soil, being a professional growing medium, it is perfect for germination, and we have been using this for many, many years. Are you hungry?
No.
You want cheese, you said?
I'm always hungry for cheese, though.
Cauliflower. Andrew, you're a flower.
You think so?
Yeah, I called you a flower.
Oh, well, I don't know whether or not to be offended.
Are you a hardy flower?
You can call me a pansy, they're pretty tough. They can handle the cold. We've got a decent amount of trays filled, so that's one less thing we have to worry about. We do seem to be running into a little bit of trouble with our water. We don't know if we have a frozen water line somewhere. It has been unbelievably cold this year, but I'm getting out one of our important tools that we have here, a tagging machine. One of the viewers actually sent this to us, and I appreciate it. We have used it heavily. Another thing I have here is the book. Oh, look at the book. Now, let's see. How far back do we go here in this book? There's 2019, and let's see, 2018 and 2017? Yeah, a long time. So, ever since 2017, we've been writing in this book. I've got 2023 in here. I've got 2024, and we're going to be putting the first instance of 2025 into this book today. Now, an interesting fact is, when we got started in 2024, that would have been February 15th was the first time we got started in 2024. The day of recording today is the 18th. We're 3 days behind, oh no! But that's okay, we had planned for that due to the weather. It can be very expensive to run these greenhouses, so we wanted to wait a little bit longer until those cold snaps had left. It's still cold, but you know, it is what it is. Also, when you get a little later into the year, you have longer growing hours. So it's not the end of the world, we just like to have an idea of when we're gonna get started. And we got started 3 days earlier last year. But that's okay, it's not a big deal. So here we have our book where we are gonna be keeping our notes. We have our tagging machine, and Dad is grabbing the seeds, and we're gonna get started. We've now got our seeds here, so it's time for us to get started. The first variety that we are gonna be planting for the year is an ageratum, so a flower, and the variety type is called Aloha Blue. I don't mention every single variety that we seed here on the farm, but the first one for the year, that's gotta get a special shout out.
Look at how small these seeds are.
Test tube. And there we have it, our first tray of seeds done for the year. After we get all the seeds put into the tray, what we do is we come across with a light dusting of our germination mix. Just a light dusting, because we don't want to affect the germination rates of these seeds. And if you add too much soil on top, it could be a big problem. This germination greenhouse, it gives us a lot of help when it comes to germinating, but anything we can do personally to help out even more, we're gonna do it. And that involves a light dusting of soil over the top. You can see we've got a good system here. Daniel is gonna be putting the seeds into the trays. I'm gonna be covering the seeds. Dad is gonna be tagging. And Matthew, well, he's trying to thaw out a water line right now. He's got his wife's hair dryer. Don't tell Tracy. It's a secret. The water using that air seeder, sometimes you will not be able to get every single hole filled. That is okay. If you have doubles or even triples, we can worry about that later on. The most important thing is just getting as many seeds in the tray as possible and trying to make sure that we don't have too many in one cell. We can split them later on, but we'd like if each seed had an equal opportunity to grow. And just like that, in about 3 minutes time, we were able to get 1,500 seeds planted. And like I said, that was just our first variety. You can see over here, we've got a few more varieties laid out, and we're just gonna continuously move through them. Putting seeds onto the seeder, I'm gonna be covering the seeds, and Dad's gonna be tagging.
Yep.
Do it.
Thank you. Everything that we're going to be seeding today is just flowers. We are going to be getting to vegetable seeds later on, but it's not time just yet. We're getting close, but it's not time just yet. Now, an interesting thing is a lot of the flowers that we sell, we'll actually get them in plugs, but we try and seed as many flowers as we can ourselves because it's a little more cost effective that way. If we can seed something ourselves, we most likely will do it. And these flowers that we're doing today will eventually be sold to people in our local area. It's really cool that we're able to do this. I mean, I've done it ever since I was a little kid, and it's something I've always enjoyed. And I know a lot of you at home have never been able to experience something like this, so you guys appreciate it as well. It can be a lot of work. This isn't hard work. It's just tedious, and it can be time consuming. And depending on what you're dealing with outside, it can make it enjoyable or not enjoyable. Like right now, we're sitting at about -3, -4 real feel outside. In here it is currently 78. And don't get me wrong, I like it a little warmer, but there will be days where it'll be 50, 60 degrees outside, and you have to do some seeding. In the greenhouse, it can get very, very hot. Depending on the weather outside, we can open some windows. We can adjust a few of the plastics to make it a little cooler, but sometimes you just can't escape the heat. But as of right now, heat, it's very important, especially for these seeds that we had just put into the soil. Maintaining moisture and keeping the seeds at a good temperature is gonna help us when it comes to germination. A lot of times when people think about seeds, they think about air temperature. Oh, it needs to be 70 to 80 degrees to germinate the seeds. We're more focused on soil temperature because that's the most important thing for us. So what we have is these little black tubes that are running under the table, and they carry warm water from our water heater. On cooler days, we will also put a sheet of plastic over the trays until the seeds begin to sprout. Making sure that our temperature is just right, not too hot, not too cold. That perfect little area to have the greatest germination rates that we can. If we have bad germination rates, we're gonna lose money. So it is very serious to us. It costs money to heat this greenhouse. It costs money for everything. And if we lose seeds because we don't hold ourselves to a higher standard, or we don't make sure that our equipment is working, well, that's gonna be a problem. So by having our greenhouse run efficiently and correctly, it makes sure that we're saving time and money, especially when it comes to all the seeding that we have to do. Andrew, I got Viola Penny Violet now. Smaller seeds.
My job right now is I'm looking over the petunia varieties. We plant a couple thousand seeds of each kind of petunia, but what I'm checking is making sure that we're just planting a little bit of each kind right now, so that comes in a little earlier. So I'm just verifying what I have as I look at the book from last year's record, and so everything works the same because we were happy with the way it were last year.
So all I'm doing is, as Daniel and Andrew are getting trays filled and they're moving on to new varieties, I make sure that whatever tray they are going to use next is labeled so that we can keep track of what's what and we don't end up with the wrong colors, because a lot of these flowers are going to be tagged and in place before we ever see the colors or see what color they are. So it's good for people to be able to buy them and know this one's red, this one's purple, early before we run into any issues. And this gets even more important with vegetables once we move into different varieties of tomatoes and peppers. Because if someone wants bell peppers and then they bring them home and they've got jalapenos, they're not going to be happy.
I tell you guys what I'm doing, but you already have an idea what I'm doing.
Now, as you can imagine, we probably don't need everybody to do this job. It would take a little bit longer if we had less people, but it's nice that everyone is taking a different section. It allows us to move through the varieties rather quickly.
These ones that we only have 500 seeds.
Which ones are you talking about?
Petunias.
It's funny because looking at these trays, you wouldn't realize how many seeds have been seeded. We've got over 10,000 seeds right in this little section. Isn't that pretty cool? I always find that fascinating. It just doesn't look like there's gonna be 10,000 plants here, but very shortly, there will be. Little bit of an update for you. We've got enough trays filled up, so we no longer have to worry about that. We've got 2 pansies, or petunias. What are you working on?
Petunias.
Petunias. We got 2 petunias left, and then that is gonna be it with flowers for the morning. You can see we've made a lot of progress. There's quite a few trays here, but we're also running into a bigger problem where we don't have water in here yet because it's frozen, right, Matt?
We think so.
Yeah, we think so. So Matthew is continuously working on this water line, trying to figure out what's going on. We think we have an idea of where it's froze at. Dad said he never remembers it freezing, but it's been really, really cold. So once we get that done, that'll be a big relief and these seeds can get to growing. But for now, we're just trying to finish off for the morning. And we had talked about just doing flowers today. That was the goal, you know, to get the flowers done. We've moved through it so quickly that we might be doing some vegetables. Might be this afternoon. We have now finished off. It is just about lunchtime. But I wanted to share with you that we got over 8,500 seeds put in the soil. Now, I've done this countless times, but even so, the first time you do it for the year, it is a special moment. This is awesome. Since we're gonna be right back, I'm not gonna take everything with me. Just my heavy coat, because even though it's 80 degrees in here, it still feels like -2 outside. This is the worst part. Oh, feel that cold. Ugh. At least your jacket's nice and warm when you leave. It just makes you feel so much better. Alrighty, look what we've got here. We have got, it looks like, is that chicken or turkey?
Chicken.
Chicken sandwiches. Ooh, that's gonna be good. And Callie, look at you. You got a hairnet on? What have you been doing? You made a cake today? Yeah. Was it a lot of fun? Yeah. Wow. Mimi is getting ready to do some volunteering, so she needed a hairnet, and Callie wanted to try it on too. Do you like it? Yeah. How's the cake you made this morning? Good. Good? Oh yeah. All finished off with lunch now. We're making our way back up to the greenhouse. We've got a few more things to seed and something you guys are gonna be really excited to see. Okay, Dad, show the people what we've got to seed this afternoon.
We are going to seed basil, green basil, flat parsley, curly parsley, celery, and then we're going to do some hot peppers. Jalapenos, habaneros, crackle peppers, which I believe are serranos, hot cherry, red habanero, long hots, ghost peppers, and then I have a bunch of onions to plant.
I knew you guys would be excited to see some pepper seeds, so we are getting some vegetables seeded today. That is exciting. Now, Dad, why are we starting so early with these peppers?
Well, it takes longer for the hot peppers to grow than it does the sweet peppers. So we want to start them a little sooner. And we get some visitors traveling in from out of state now that want stuff a little sooner than we usually use it here. So we want to have it ready for them.
So we're trying to accommodate people that like to travel. We try and make sure we have plenty of varieties available, but also that we have plants for an extended period of time, because not only are we planting, but we sell plants to so many different people. So we're gonna get everything set back up and ready to go. We gotta fill a few more trays and we'll get to seeding. Oh yeah, looks good. This is nice stuff. Nice soil. And thankfully, we got this soil out of the freezing cold and into the warmth so that it's not all clumped together. Makes it a lot easier to work with. We have water! Check it out! Now we're gonna be able to water everything that we had seeded. There we go. Now we have nothing else to worry about. I'm just gonna cover up these trays, take them up top, and once we get finished with all this stuff, we'll be able to put a nice drink of water on it.
Turn around the wrong way.
You gotta leave that top thing open for here, okay? Until it runs out up there.
And there we have our basil seeded. Now, although it'd be difficult to tell, this is an entire tray of curly parsley. That's why it's so important to make sure you're paying attention while you're doing this job. Because some of these trays, it's very difficult to see if they had been seeded or not. So we have to pay attention. Yep, there it is, 512 curly parsley. Daniel just dumped our first pepper seed onto the tray for the year. These are ghost chilies. We're doing an entire tray of ghost chilies, and then we're gonna move through the other peppers. Got two different types of habaneros. We got our crackle peppers. These would be our serranos, crackle peppers, serranos. That's the variety name. We got our hot cherry peppers, a few different varieties we're just gonna be moving through. This is an exciting time. We're finishing off the last few pepper varieties in the 512s, and then we're gonna be moving on to 801s. Now these are interesting trays. You can see they're open. There's not different cells. So what we're gonna do is loosely seed into these trays, and then as it grows up, as it starts to get larger, when we sell them or we plant them ourselves, we just have to pull the plants apart. These are gonna be red onions. And we're also gonna do some yellow onions, white onions, and leeks. In the past, we have spread seed into these 801s. However, today we are using the seeder just to kind of get an idea of how many seeds are going into each cell. You can see we've got our onion seed in here. That looks pretty good. There's not more in one cell than another, which is kind of what we were going for, trying to make it all even, because these will be sold. So if someone's buying onions, we don't want one person to get 50 onions and one person only get like 30 onions. We're trying to keep everything around the same. So we've got these onions already done, which Daniel has been working on. Not sure what variety we started off with. We've got the Spanish onions here, and then over here, these are gonna be red onions, leeks, and then finally the candy onions. Do you guys wanna see what 2,500 onions looks like? There you go, there's 500. We got 1,000. Look at this, that's 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 onions. There we go, that was the last tray. We are now finished with seeding for the day. I want you guys to quick run down the comments, let me know how many seeds do you think that we had seeded today. Let's give you a quick look. I'll give you a second. What do you think, Matt? Just quick guess, quick guess. Don't be counting.
I can't do quick guesses.
I'll tell you. All right, everyone made their guesses. You could have paused if you wanted. 32,500. That's how many we did. That is a lot. 65 trays, 500 a pop. That's a lot of seeds. We did quite a few flowers. We were able to do some peppers. We did a few different types of onions, and we were able to do what one of my favorite things is, basil and parsley. What a wonderful day. You know, we always enjoy working on the farm, but having the first opportunity of seeding take place, this feels good. This greenhouse isn't the biggest, but it still looks really, really cool having this whole side all filled. Dad brought one of the last and most important tools when it comes to seeding, the plastic sheeting that goes on top, because we've got our water heater up and running. So we have the water running through the little black pipes underneath. So that's gonna heat from the bottom, and then this plastic on top, it's gonna help to lock in that heat that is rising from underneath, which is also gonna help with moisture escaping. So the moisture is not gonna be able to escape because the plastic is on top. It's gonna be a nice and warm underneath. And this is gonna give all of the plants an equal opportunity to grow. And this will give us the best germination rates possible. It does, you know, it's an extra job putting this plastic on and then having to come out early in the morning and take it off so it doesn't cook the seeds. But throughout the nights, this really helps us to have those beautiful germination rates that we need. We can't go without them. We need to have good germination rates. We have already got a lot accomplished today, but once we got finished up in the germination greenhouse, we came down to the largest greenhouse and we've been getting trays put together. So we have our 4.5-inch pots that we've been putting into our flood trays. Now, the thing about these trays that's very important is you have to remember all these stacks here, they go across the entire length of this greenhouse. So this table on my right, this table in the middle, and then even that table on the left and the one across from it, that's also gonna be filled with these types of pots and trays. And we know we've got our pot filling machine up here. We've got our soil in place. And one of the most important things is we've now got our trays filled. So very shortly, we will be filling these with soil. However, to finish off the workday, we're just putting pots into the trays. You guys may have noticed Petey's here with us. You can see he's been helping as well. And yeah, look at all these stacks of trays we've got here, ready to be filled up with dirt. Kick those legs! Kick those legs!
Happy feet, happy feet,
Kick
happy
those
feet.
legs!
Happy feet, happy feet, happy feet.
Ooh, look at her go. We are currently at the farmhouse getting ready for some dinner. We got Mr. Ronnie over here doing some puzzles, doing some walking around, having a good time. Look at him go. And we got Miss Lily. Are you ready for dinner? Yeah? All right. Do you have anything to say? Huh? Oh, he's busy. Alrighty, everybody. We are now here, ready for dinner. The only thing is Matthew and Pop-Pop are in a meeting. So they're going to be joining us a little later on. Well, we got all the babies at the table, and we are ready to eat. So you guys know what that means? This is where we're going to end the video today. I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.